Welcome back to Called Out Assembly. I wanted to give some things that I've had some emails sent to me on this matter of foreclosures of churches. We need documentation. People can't believe it. So let me share some things that were sent to my way by Mary, my dear sister in Christ. This is one website. It's called loopnet.com, Georgia Churches for Sale. I mean, you won't believe this. Here's all the different churches and their prices. $1,000,000, $325,000, $150,000, $450,000, $350,000, $899,000. It goes on and on and on, up into the millions of dollars. This is a listing of just the Georgia area. That's just one state, and that's just the first page of it all. And there's 5 pages to all this. 5 pages of churches for sale. Tell me this isn't happening. There's more churches for sale, for sale, for sale. I mean, look at that, $6 million, 900,000. $6 million. Imagine that. You want to buy it? Tell me people aren't getting out of these buildings, getting out of the overhead. Well, that's just one site. Let me stop here and come to another site. Hold on just a minute. Now, take a look at the date, July the 5th, 2011. So it's just an old article about, you can imagine what's happened since then, 4 years later. This is out of Atlanta, again, Georgia. America's mortgage crisis is far from over. Homeowners are not the only ones in the red. Church congregations across this country are losing their properties at an alarming rate. High Ground Empowerment Center is a small church in the heart of Atlanta's Vine City. The neighborhood Martin Luther King Jr. once called home from 1965 to 1968. Dexter Johnson grew up in the historical church on Spencer Street. It's the only church he had ever regularly attended. He became the pastor in 1994. He always says that God has blessed me with a wonderful group of people who love God, love ministry, and love their pastor. Weathering the storm. Higher Ground actually began in 1903 at Mount Gilead Baptist Church. But in 2009, the pastor said God moved him and his congregation to change the name to Higher Ground. Now, the Lord gave me that thought years ago, just some time ago. He talked about getting to higher ground. And he had mentioned, and I had this thought of going to Georgia. Well, now I see it quite differently now. I've still got that up. I got my house on the market. I may move, may not move. I always wanted to go to Georgia. I like the mountain area. But he said this thing about higher ground. I could not have known back then what he was talking about. Look at that. Talk about confirmation. That's the confirmation there. Higher ground. I know what he's talking about now. So, the new name marked the church's rise from ruin after a 2008 tornado knocked down its steeple. Now, catch that. Remember I brought out one of those videos? And there's your church and tornado proof, earthquake proof. Alright, ripped off this roof and left the congregation without a sanctuary for more than a year. It shook the foundation of our church. Did it now? Really, did it? Where's your foundation at? But now, a legal storm is threatening to take away that renovated building. Higher Ground saw its membership decline, and in 20 months it was displaced. Giving also decreased as some congregations lost their jobs in the economical downturn. The property value of the church building also dropped, leaving members with a $1 million $1 million mortgage for building value and much less. Originally, we had a $1.1 million loan. We have negotiated down to $600,000. They want their property, Johnson explained. They want us out, and there's no more negotiating with the bank. They want us out now. I mean, I've said this stuff in my last couple of videos here, and I'm wondering if you really believed it, and that, oh, this ain't happening. Our church is flourishing now. We have a great congregation here. Higher ground still occupies building as its lawyers appeal the church's case in Fulton County Superior Court. Maybe they'll use a racial card. I mean, like that one church I mentioned. It's not a matter of racial. You may not want to believe this, and I've been putting this warning out there. And you can say, well, that's just your squirrely thinking, Paul. It isn't happening. God is not trying to wean the church from its buildings. I said, if you don't do it, if you don't do this, the world will. And God will use the world like He used Nebuchadnezzar, as He used Pilate for this world to fulfill His will. And I'm telling you, He's telling you, get out of these buildings while you still can. Where will we go? Ask Him. More buildings in foreclosure. Reading on here. And it takes a short drive to find other church buildings with foreclosure notices and locked doors. Well, I don't need to read that. You can read it for yourself. Here, I'll put it up there, and you can pause this and read all you want. Well, I'll put the link down below, and you can read it for yourself. Well, that's back in 2011. You think it's got any better? It's gotten worse. So let me pause if I got any more to add to this. This is another link that Mary sent me. It comes from Wikipedia. The El Rey Jesus. The King Jesus Ministry. It's located in Miami, Florida. Now, I won't read the whole article. I'll give you the link and read it for yourself. Now, it says, with a general attendance between 15,000 and 20,000 individuals per week. Imagine that. Okay, I don't want to get too much in that. It shows you how the church founders, how it grew fast. Alright, made up a lot of Hispanic people. But I got scrolling down here after reading this whole article here. Like I was saying, if you want to read it, you can either look at the link or you can pause this video and read it and go on further. I got down here and I come against a couple of these articles that Bob references. Let me show you something. Remember, in light of the 501c3, remember the stipulations. They would stay independent from supporting political candidates. Now, catch what happens next here. Let me go on here. Here it is. This is out of Tampa Bay Times. Governor, this is back in, so it's an old article, 2010, but it's trying to, I'm just trying to show you a point. This is going to any time. It probably just happened after this. Government candidates visit the faithful. Sink to churches. That's a play on word, just so I mean. Scott to church, then football. They go from churches, then they go to the football games and try to get in there, conjure up some support for their running for governor. So it's 2 Sundays away from election day, and do you know where your candidates are? Democrat Alex Sink, seeing the word, sink to churches. They sink the one. See the play on words, what the media's trying to say? They're stooping low. They're going to churches to get support. They're 501c3. They should not be allowed to do that. No, they don't say that. That's implied. Sink to churches. Alex Sink and Republican Rick Scott were in church this morning visiting congregations in Miami and Orlando. Scott attended the El Rey Jesus Church in Miami, a Christian Pentecostal church with one of the largest Hispanic following in the country. Scott then continued greeting the faithful, this time football worshippers, with a visit to the Miami Dolphin game. I mean, they're playing both ends. And Miami Dolphins are not 501c, so the church is. That's just, they just piled this up and added up one day when they walk in there. Imagine with a facility that big, how much the taxes would be on that. Imagine the money's coming in there. If they find out not to have violated the 501c3 ruling, they'll shut them down tomorrow. Confiscate all this property. I mean, what am I trying to say? Well, you figure it out. Figure it out. Let me pause a minute. Well, here's another link. It's called www.pewforum.org. If you ever wanted to read something, read this. I mean, it sounds like that they're saying it's okay, and then in the next breath they said, but if you do this, this is going to occur. Can a candidate come to a church? Yeah, he can come to a church. But if you have him come to the church, now you may favor him being a conservative, you would have to have the liberal candidate the following week come to your church and give his view. You may not want that. And if you don't do that and become biased to a candidate, they can take your 501c3 rights away. I mean, there's a lot of different things in here. Let me go here. Where was that one at? Oh, let me pause a minute so I can find it. There I mentioned I believe it was part 2, about you can't say nothing against gays, homosexuality, abortion, all the different things you do. You can't really be tax exempt and say this kind of things to your pulpit. Here's an example of something that took place. There's the Branch Ministries versus Rosati case, the Rosati case. 4 days before the 1992 presidential election, a church at Pierce Creek in Birmingham, New York, placed a full-page advertisement in USA Today and the Washington Times. The ad began with the heading, "Christians beware, do not put the economy ahead of the Ten Commandments." The ad cited biblical passages and stated that Governor Bill Clinton supported abortion on demand, homosexuality, and the distribution of condoms to teenagers in public schools. The ad concluded with the question, how then can we vote for Bill Clinton? At the bottom of the ad, in fine print, the following notice appeared. This advertisement was co-sponsored by the church at Pierce Creek, David S. J. Little, senior pastor, and by churches and concerned Christians nationwide. The tax deductible donations for this advertisement gladly accepted. Make donations to the church at Pierce Creek. Following the special procedures for church audits, the IRS evoked the church's Section 501c3 tax exemption on the grounds that it violated the political campaign intervention prohibition. The church challenged the IRS in court, claiming that the revocation of its tax exempt status violated the Internal Revenue Code, both the free speech and free exercise clause of the First Amendment and the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. The church also claimed that it had been singled out for prosecution on account of its political views. The district court dismissed the case, concluding that the IRS had authority under the Internal Revenue Code to evoke the church's tax exempt status, and that the revocation did not violate the Religious Freedom Action or the Free Speech or Free Exercise Clause. Court also concluded that in evoking the church's tax exemptions, the IRS has not engaged in selective prosecution or prosecution or viewpoint discrimination. How about that? Oh God! Of course, the church appealed, and the decision of the decision of the district court, U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit affirmed the district court's decision on every count. Among other things, the Court of Appeals noted that the church had an alternative means of engaging the political activity because it could establish a related, separate, incorporated organization under Section 501c4 or the Internal Revenue Code, and that the separate organization could express opinions about candidates and even establish a PAC through which political contributions might be made. Of course, not tax-deductible church funds could be used to support the political activities of the Section 501c4 organization or its PAC. You know, none of this would have occurred. It could not have occurred before 1954. But why did they join this? Like the article back here in the first part one of this. They just didn't know. They're ignorant. 2, everybody else was joining, getting into the 501c3 exemption. Or they listened to some man of the world, CPA of the world, trying to help them to make more bucks and to give them more money and be tax exempt, you know. Well, some of these churches today, the profitability in those churches is really questionable. Now that may come out. Let me see if I can find that piece. If not, if I don't find it, then I don't know if I want to do any more on this. It's just like, read this. I'm going to give you, maybe I don't want people distracted in my series staying on this road. I'm seeing these things left and right of me. I'm saying, Lord, what about this? People are concerned. They want to go off and join the battle here. You want me to join that battle? So I read about it, find out about it. I'm saying, hey, they brought this on themselves. Maybe you should have asked God. Like I'm saying, there are many churches today that are getting out of this 501c. Or never joining it to begin with. But some are so into it and got these CPAs and everybody else involved, and they're making so much money they don't dare to get out. They have a rock hanging over their head. They're corrupt. You know? I mean, you shouldn't be there. So let me pause. If I don't find something, I may not be getting any more out on this subject matter right now. Well, here's another one. Something about Americans continue to be wary of church involvement in partisan politics, right? In July, this is 2012, Pew Research Center survey asked American adults whether they think churches and other houses of worship should come out in favor of one candidate over another during political elections. 2/3 said they should not. More on this and questions related issues. See this other article down there. You remember Romney, his Mormon religion? God. And also see the Pew Forum 2012 guide to, which I just had that prior to this, on political activity by a religious organization. Preaching politics from the pulpit. There's warnings there. Well, I could brought out in video 1. Since 1954, the IRS has imposed limits on the political activities of tax-exempt organizations, including churches and other, it should not have included churches, but they volunteered, they went under that jurisdiction, including churches and other religious institutions. Some religious leaders defend the IRS rules, saying they prevent churches from getting too deeply involved in partisan politics. Others see the rules as an infringement or abridgment of free speech. For example, on Sunday, October the 7th, it's back to 2012, I came out, I think I had that link to this. The Christian Advocate Group Alliance Defending Freedom, formerly the Alliance Defense Fund, will sponsor Pulpit Freedom Sunday, an annual event to promote the inherent right of American pastors to choose and deliver the content of their sermons without fear that the IRS will investigate or punish the church because of something a pastor says from the pulpit. You think they're not watching you? They're building their case. I mean, oh, there it is. There's that. Oh, God. Yeah. I think I've made my case here. I don't think I even want to get in anymore. There's so much more. I mean, you go on the website, you'll see all kind of things about this. I mean, it could slow you down. I'm at a rest stop now on my road. I keep mentioning my series, the narrow road, stay on the narrow road. And I think now I'm going to get back in my car, pull out off the exit, and it's on the road, it's not off the road, and move on. So God bless you. I hope you got something out of some of these input here. God bless you.